Google parent company Alphabet is the latest tech giant to trim thousands of jobs. The company announced it's slashing 6% of its workforce. Google's largest ever round of layoffs follows recent cuts by Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta, the parent company of Facebook. Michael George has been following the tech trim. Michael, good morning.
Michelle, good morning. Now, some experts call this a correction. Tech companies boomed during the pandemic, overhired, and now they have to adjust to a post-pandemic economy. But really, there's no way to spin this as positive. More than 10,000 people are suddenly finding themselves unemployed. Alphabet, the parent company of Google, is cutting 12,000 jobs, about 6% of its workforce. In an email, the company's CEO wrote, "Over the past 2 years, we've seen periods of dramatic growth. To match and fuel that growth, we hired for a different economic reality than the one we face today." The belt-tightening at Google follows other recent tech sector job cuts. Microsoft announced earlier this week it's laying off 10,000 workers, or nearly 5% of its workforce. Amazon has said it's cutting 18,000 jobs. And Meta, the parent company of Facebook, announced it's laying off 11,000 positions.
I think that many companies are right-sizing their staff.
Many tech companies went on a pandemic hiring spree because of increased demand for their products as millions of people worked remotely. By late last year, Google's parent company, Alphabet, said it had nearly 187,000 employees on the books.
It is pretty easy for most companies to cut 10 to 15% of their employee base right now.
Economists say what's happening in tech is so far an exception in the labor market.
The overall labor market has been remarkably resilient. The latest data we have through December suggested it is holding up despite higher interest rates.
Isaac Del Rosario is a recently laid off software engineer in Seattle.
I've been in the interview hunt for about 4 months now.
Del Rosario is finding job openings by looking outside of the big tech giants.
Surprisingly, I've been able to get interviews from more like smaller startups.
For newly out-of-work software engineers, a job search beyond the big-name companies may be the way to go. And even with the new downsizing, many of the big tech companies are still bigger than they were before the pandemic. Now, laid-off Google workers will get a severance package of 16 weeks' salary plus 2 weeks for every year at the company. And it's important to note, despite the massive layoffs in tech, overall, the nation's unemployment rate last month was 3.5%. That's a 50-year low. Jeff?
Michael, thank you very much.